Hi. Somebody left me a comment a while ago asking me to talk about manifesting weight loss. And I didn't make it yet because, one, the jury's out a little bit for me on manifesting weight loss. I don't like that phrase. I think for some people you can adopt the state and kind of sit back and let things happen. I don't know. But I think for people that have weight issues, there's a difference between guy A that needs to lose 40 pounds and guy B that needs to lose 40 pounds. Some people have weight issues and they're emotional and mental in nature. And some people just get lazy and gain weight. And so this video is not for the people who just got kind of lazy and don't feel like putting, for that, I think you can use any of the imaginal techniques and pretty easily probably make something happen. For people like me who had a decades-long obsession and who there were mental blocks there, who couldn't seem to make things happen, I wanted to address that a little more in depth with my experience. I want to say this up front, there are 3 important things about it, and I want to make sure I don't miss any of them because I've been thinking about this. I'm kind of on the other side of the whole experience, and the coronavirus lock-in stuff, and especially my particular situation where I'm in a strange living environment because of a different intention, I believe. I think that my current situation, I've gained a bunch of weight, like 10 pounds. And this, I think, was another tailor-made experience for me. Just personally addressing a bunch of issues I have. For example, shortcuts that I was taking to keep myself in check, like not having food around and going to the gym all the time, stuff like that. And just the illusion of the certainty of the outside world, that was kind of like a comforting day-to-day thing that's been lost. Those things are gone, and I'm having to deal with my weight and food mental things sort of at the next level. Like, I feel like I mastered the first part, and now I've been given the challenge of having the shortcuts taken away. Now it's like sink or swim. I have to deal with my particular area of mental distress that causes eating, which is low-level anxiety. Like, super high anxiety doesn't do it to me. Sadness doesn't do it to me. Depression, anger, I don't eat that way. The only time that I feel like I can't control eating is when there's like this low level, things seem to be okay, but I'm waiting for the other shoe to drop. That, it was always like that. When I first gained a bunch of weight, it was because I was in a relationship that was like that. It's very unpredictable. And so I've got all these challenges, but I wanted to speak to, since this is so germane to my life right now, and probably a lot of other people who are, I'm guessing, dealing with similar issues to me, in addition to maybe never having resolved the first part, which is losing the weight. I wanted to talk about the 3 things that I think were key. The first thing is that for me, I had a true moment, like a memorable moment, where I realized that I was not that person, that heavy person. I realized that I was this person that's talking to you right now. I just looked around my life and I said, this doesn't fit. This sticks out like a sore thumb. This doesn't make sense. I'm not myself at this weight. I'm somebody else. And what am I doing here? And I just kind of had this moment where I realized, holy shit, that's true. This doesn't make sense. I'm not this person. And when I realized that, I knew in that moment that it was just a matter of time. It was just a matter of figuring out the details after that. Because whatever you identify with is what your outer world will be. It's really simple. It's no more complicated than that. There's nothing inherent about who you are. You can decide that. That's the point I'm trying to make. The most important thing is deciding that you are not the person with the characteristics that you're currently trying to change, or that you want to be gone. And if you don't have a flash moment of understanding like I did, you can get that state of mind through work, through mental work. There are a million techniques for that. There's affirming, there's imaginal states, there's all the stuff that all the new thought authors talked about. You can spend enough time in your 4D existing in a different mental place and finally get to a place where you identify differently. I don't know the way for you personally, but I'm telling you that identifying with a different state is the first step, just like Neville says. That happened to me kind of organically. I didn't do that on purpose. It just clicked into place that I was identifying with the wrong life, essentially. So that was the first thing. The second thing that I think is very important, and I don't know how this fits into Neville or any of that stuff, but I think it does fit into the reality transurfing school of thought. Like if you're selecting a different reality, this makes sense from that standpoint. What I did, and what I've noticed I have not been doing over the last month, which has allowed things I don't want to happen, is I almost always existed in future me's mentality, which is living in the wish fulfilled, I think. I think that's the same thing. I mean, I know what living in the wish fulfilled feels like for things outside of this weight thing, because that's not the only thing that I worked on. You know, I've made money, I've been working on stuff with people, and there's just a state of knowing that the thing is done. That's how they describe it. But for what I'm talking about with the weight, I think this fits hand in hand with that, which is that I was so sure that I was going to achieve the thing. It was just not even a doubt in my mind that I started thinking from my future self's perspective, only a day or two out. You know, there's this balance that you have to strike between your 4D imagination and your 3D outer reality that is happening right this second, right? You're rich in your mind, but your bank balance is shit, right? Or you have the right body in your mind, but you're still dealing with your old habits, your whatever it is that triggers you to eat or to talk yourself out of working out, or whatever it is that you're going to do to get from point A to point B, whatever that is. Whatever it is, you're not doing it right now if you're not successful. So I would often think from future me's perspective. And anytime I would have an urge to do something in the now that was counter to my goal, anytime I would, specifically at night, you know, I would be really hungry. Like, let's just say I ate everything I could eat for the day and it was 8 o'clock, which isn't, you know, then there's a tough 2 or 3 hours there where you have to just say, no, I'm hungry, but it doesn't matter. I can't have anything. Well, there were a lot of nights where I was like, you know what? Fuck it for today. Like, fuck it. I'm just going to eat. Like, who cares? I'm hungry. You know, I worked out today. It's not going to cause any damage. And I began to habitually think, what does the person who's waking up tomorrow morning think about this decision? How am I going to feel about this when I wake up in the morning? And do I want to trade feeling happy that I didn't do this tomorrow morning for whatever mediocre reward I'm going to get from doing this right now? And the answer was almost always no. And that I think, same thing with working out, same thing with anything else that I didn't want to do that I considered not doing. I just thought, how am I going to feel about this tomorrow? And eventually, that person that I was doing things for tomorrow became me all the time. You know, to me, that I think is a version of adopting the state for this particular unique thing that seems to elude people. Okay, so those are the first two things. And then the last thing, sorry, this is long. The last thing is, and this is just highly debated everywhere, I don't know why. If you really don't want to do anything, I guess don't do anything, but take action. That's my advice. You know, when I'm working on something, I want to do everything I can to get it because I like achieving things. I like accomplishing goals. And, you know, whether you've never heard of Neville or not, did that make sense? Whether you've heard of Neville or not, whether you're aware of this conscious influence thing or not, you know, the good old-fashioned way of getting things done is hard work. So my advice would be do stuff towards your goal. I can't believe I even have to say that and give a little explanation for it. But I think this does a few things. Aside from just chipping away at something that you're trying to get done, it also builds the foundation for those other things, you know, for these other mental things, these, you know, shifting your mentality into the state of what you're trying to be. Well, if what you're trying to be is somebody who is in excellent physical condition, I don't know, you know, it's not like it's going to hurt if you go out and jog a mile. That's something that person might do. Do you have to do it to get from point A to point B? No, probably not. I don't know. Most of the people that I've seen posting on Reddit about how they lost weight without doing anything actually then went on in the post to talk about how they did a whole bunch of stuff. You know, they either magically stopped eating as much or magically started wanting to exercise more or magically changed their, you know. I don't think that you accomplish a lot of physical goals without doing stuff. So my advice would be spend the majority of your mental energy adopting the state of the new person at first. Once you really feel connected to that, then use my technique or use some other thing that you come up with or something that works for you and start doing stuff for future you, knowing full well that it's you right now. It's not a different person, but it helps to think about it, I think. You know, think from your own perspective in the short-term future and long-term future when making present 3D decisions. And finally, do stuff. It will increase your subconscious mind's belief, or it just firms things up. Doing stuff firms things up. Don't just plan. Take some action. That's my advice. That's how I did it. It is 43 degrees out and raining. I am in my enormous raincoat at the gym, at the track, because you can't keep this bitch down. And I am going to rise to the challenges that I apparently have presented myself with through this whole situation. I've gained 10 pounds, but my waist hasn't gotten any bigger. I've been working out like crazy in my home gym. So getting over the scale is another thing that I'm going to be challenged with now. I weighed 131 this morning, but it doesn't look like the last time I weighed 131. So I'm not really sure what's going on here. All kinds of challenges. You'll hear about it from me. I hope this helps somebody who is struggling with weight. You can absolutely do it. Absolutely do it.